December 5, 1945. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across Fort Lauderdale Naval Air Station as 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers prepared for what should have been a routine training mission. Flight 19, as it was designated, consisted of 14 experienced naval aviators, led by Lieutenant Charles Taylor, a veteran pilot with over 2,500 flight hours. At 2:10 p.m., the 5 aircraft lifted off into clear skies over the Florida coast. Their mission, a standard navigation exercise known as Navigation Problem Number 1. Fly east to the Bahamas, conduct practice bombing runs, then return home. 3 hours later, radio operators at Fort Lauderdale received a transmission that would echo through history. Control tower, this is an emergency. We seem to be off course. We cannot see land. Repeat, we cannot see land. Lieutenant Taylor's voice crackled through the static. We can't find west. Everything is wrong. We can't be sure of any direction. Even the ocean doesn't look as it should. As darkness approached, the transmissions grew more desperate. All planes close up tight. We'll have to ditch unless landfall. When the first plane drops below 10 gallons, we all go down together. At 7:04 p.m., the final transmission was recorded. FT, FT, then silence. Within hours, a massive search and rescue operation was launched. A PBM Mariner flying boat with 13 crew members took off to join the search. 23 minutes after takeoff, the rescue plane also vanished without a trace. No wreckage, no survivors, no answers. The waters where Flight 19 vanished had whispered of strange occurrences long before that December day in 1945. Christopher Columbus himself noted peculiar phenomena during his historic voyage in October 1492. His ship's log, preserved in Spanish archives, records an entry from October 11th. The needle of the compass varied to the northeast a full point, which is 11 degrees and a quarter. What Columbus had encountered were natural magnetic variations, the difference between magnetic north and true north that occurs in certain regions of the Atlantic. Throughout the colonial period and into the 19th century, ship manifests and insurance records from Lloyd's of London document unexplained losses in these waters. The merchant vessel Rosalie, found drifting in 1840 with cargo intact but crew vanished. The USS Cyclops, a massive naval cargo ship that disappeared in March 1918 while carrying a full load of manganese ore from Barbados to Baltimore. 306 men simply gone. Maritime insurance companies began noting patterns in their ledgers. Ships lost without distress signals. Vessels found floating empty with no signs of struggle. Weather reports that didn't match the destruction found on recovered wrecks. But these were scattered incidents across decades, recorded in dusty shipping logs and maritime courts, far from public attention. The ocean kept its secrets, and the world had other concerns. 2 world wars, economic depression, and the rapid advancement of technology shifted humanity's focus away from maritime mysteries. Vincent Gaddis had no idea he was about to create a legend when he sat down to write for Argosy magazine in February 1964. The freelance writer was fascinated by unexplained phenomena, and he'd been collecting reports of mysterious disappearances in a triangular area of the Atlantic. The deadly Bermuda Triangle read the headline of his article. It was the first time anyone had given a name to this patch of ocean between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. Gaddis wrote with the dramatic flair expected by Argosy's readers. A vast watery triangle bounded roughly by Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. Within this area, a startling number of ships and planes have mysteriously vanished. The timing was perfect. America in the 1960s was hungry for mystery. The Cold War had created an atmosphere of uncertainty. Space exploration suggested infinite possibilities, and popular culture was embracing the unexplained. Gaddis's article struck a nerve, reprinted in newspapers, and discussed on radio shows across the country. But it was Charles Berlitz who transformed Gaddis's magazine article into a cultural phenomenon. Berlitz, heir to the famous language learning empire, published The Bermuda Triangle in 1974. The book was a masterpiece of selective reporting, weaving together decades of maritime incidents, unexplained phenomena, and outright speculation into a compelling narrative of supernatural mystery. Berlitz claimed the triangle was responsible for over 1,000 disappearances. He connected ancient Atlantis to modern aircraft vanishings, suggested alien abduction, and proposed that some unknown force was operating in these waters. The book became an international bestseller, translated into dozens of languages, and selling over 5 million copies. Suddenly, the legend had taken on a life of its own, growing beyond any single incident or rational explanation. Publishers rushed to print similar books. Television documentaries proliferated. The Bermuda Triangle had become more than a geographical location. It was a cultural touchstone for the unknown and unexplained. By the mid-1970s, the Bermuda Triangle phenomenon had grown too large to ignore. In 1975, Coast Guard Lieutenant Commander George McCall decided to investigate systematically. McCall and his team examined every reported Bermuda Triangle incident they could find, cross-referencing weather reports, flight plans, and maritime records. The Coast Guard does not recognize the existence of the so-called Bermuda Triangle as a geographic area of specific hazard to ships or planes, their official statement declared. Their investigation revealed that many of the incidents cited by Berlitz and others had been misrepresented, taken out of context, or simply invented. Flight 19, for example, was not the mysterious vanishing Berlitz described. Navy records showed that Lieutenant Taylor had become disoriented after his compass malfunctioned, a common occurrence in the area due to natural magnetic variations. Radio transcripts revealed that Taylor believed he was over the Florida Keys when he was actually over the Bahamas. When he turned northeast, thinking he was heading toward Florida, he actually flew further out to sea. The weather that day, initially reported as clear, had deteriorated rapidly. Naval meteorologists documented 25-knot winds and rough seas by evening. The TBM Avengers, already low on fuel after hours of confused flying, would have been forced to ditch in increasingly dangerous conditions. The search plane that disappeared had a known history of fuel vapor explosions, a design flaw that had claimed other PBM mariners. Lloyd's of London, the world's most famous marine insurance market, conducted their own statistical analysis. Their actuaries found that the Bermuda Triangle had no higher rate of maritime incidents than any other heavily traveled shipping lane. In fact, given the volume of air and sea traffic through the region, one of the busiest maritime areas in the world, the accident rate was remarkably low. As scientific scrutiny intensified, researchers began documenting the powerful natural forces operating in the waters between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. The region sits directly in the path of the Gulf Stream, one of the world's most powerful ocean currents. This river within the sea moves at speeds up to 4 miles per hour, carrying warm Caribbean water northward along the American coast. The Gulf Stream's power cannot be overstated. Ships caught in its grip can be carried hundreds of miles off course. Debris from maritime accidents is swept rapidly out to sea, making recovery nearly impossible. The current's interaction with the continental shelf creates sudden, violent weather changes that can catch even experienced mariners off guard. Dr. Richard Sylvester, an oceanographer at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, spent years studying the region's unique characteristics. His research revealed massive underwater limestone formations, riddled with caves and sudden drop-offs. Magnetic anomalies in the region, first noted by Columbus, result from the area's position relative to the magnetic North Pole. The agonic line, where magnetic north and true north align, passes directly through the Bermuda Triangle. Compass variations of several degrees are normal, enough to send a disoriented pilot or navigator badly off course. Weather patterns add another layer of complexity. The region sits in the Atlantic hurricane breeding ground, where tropical storms can form with frightening speed. Temperature differences between the Gulf Stream and surrounding waters create sudden fog banks, violent thunderstorms, and waterspouts that can appear without warning. Modern meteorologists have documented microbursts, sudden downdrafts of air that can exceed 100 miles per hour, forming over the warm Gulf Stream waters. These phenomena, invisible to radar until recently, can slam aircraft into the ocean in seconds. The combination of powerful currents, sudden weather changes, and magnetic anomalies creates a perfect storm of navigational challenges. The advent of GPS technology in the 1990s marked a turning point in the Bermuda Triangle story. Global positioning satellites eliminated the compass variations and navigational errors that had plagued earlier generations of pilots and mariners. Suddenly, knowing your exact position within a few meters became routine rather than miraculous. Coast Guard rescue statistics tell the story clearly. Before GPS, the average time to locate a distressed vessel or aircraft in the Triangle region was over 24 hours. After widespread GPS adoption, that time dropped to less than 4 hours. Satellite weather monitoring transformed maritime safety as well. Weather systems that once appeared without warning are now tracked from formation to dissipation. Real-time weather data, accessible to any vessel with basic communication equipment, means captains can avoid dangerous conditions rather than stumble into them blindly. Emergency Position Indicating Radio Beacons, or EPIRBS, automatically transmit distress signals when activated by water contact. These devices have revolutionized search and rescue operations, leading searchers directly to crash sites that would once have remained lost forever. Yet, even with modern technology, the Bermuda Triangle legend persists. Recent incidents continue to be attributed to mysterious forces, despite clear explanations. In 2005, a Piper Cherokee disappeared near the Bahamas, generating immediate speculation about triangle phenomena. The subsequent investigation revealed that the pilot had filed no flight plan, carried insufficient fuel, and flew into severe weather without proper instruments. Wreckage was eventually found, where oceanographic models predicted it would drift. The internet age has amplified the legend, rather than diminishing it. Each new incident becomes fodder for speculation, analyzed by amateur investigators who ignore weather reports, navigational errors, and mechanical failures in favor of more exotic explanations. The Bermuda Triangle phenomenon teaches us as much about human nature as it does about maritime history. We are pattern-seeking creatures, driven to find connections and explanations even where none exist. When faced with incomplete information, we fill the gaps with imagination rather than acknowledging uncertainty. The legend's persistence, despite overwhelming evidence, reveals the power of a compelling narrative. Charles Berlitz understood instinctively that a mysterious cosmic force was more appealing than compass variations and fuel calculations. The Triangle story offered adventure and wonder in an increasingly mapped and measured world. The real Bermuda Triangle, that patch of ocean where the Gulf Stream carries Caribbean waters north, where magnetic north varies from true north, where tropical storms breed in warm waters, is far more fascinating than any fictional mystery. It's a region where powerful natural forces have challenged navigators for centuries, where human limitations meet oceanic immensity, and where technology has gradually illuminated the darkness of the unknown. Flight 19's final transmission still echoes across the decades. We can't find West. Everything is wrong. But everything wasn't wrong with the ocean or the sky. It was wrong with human navigation in a complex, dynamic environment that demanded more precision than 1945 technology could provide. The 14 men of Flight 19 and the countless others lost in these waters deserve better than supernatural speculation. They were victims of natural forces, human error, and technological limitations, not mysterious triangles or cosmic anomalies. Their memory is honored not by perpetuating myths, but by understanding the real challenges they faced and the courage they showed in facing them. The Bermuda Triangle, as a supernatural phenomenon, doesn't exist. In the end, the greatest mystery isn't why ships and planes disappear in the Bermuda Triangle. It's why we need them to.